Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the human battleship Defiance, watching the alien armada through the massive viewport. 300 Vex-High warships stretched across the darkness of space like a metal plague. Their biomechanical hulls pulsed with sickly green light, and their weapons charged with energy that could glass entire planets. Sarah had seen those weapons work before. She had watched them turn New Terra into a ball of molten rock. She had seen them burn through the orbital defenses of Kepler 442b like they were made of paper. The Vex-High had been pushing humanity back for 2 years now, system by system, world by world. But today would be different. "Status report," Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the odds they faced. "All ships reporting ready." "Commander," replied Lieutenant Torres from the communication station. "The fleet is holding position behind the asteroid field as ordered." Sarah nodded. The human fleet numbered only 50 ships, but they were the best humanity had left. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who knew this might be their last battle. The plan was desperate, maybe even impossible, but it was their only chance to save Earth. The Vex-High had superior technology, superior numbers, and superior firepower, but they had one weakness that Sarah intended to exploit. They relied too heavily on their hive mind communication system. Cut the head off the snake and the body would die. "Commander," called out Dr. Marcus Webb from the science station, "the quantum resonance bomb is ready for deployment. But I have to remind you, the explosion will destroy everything within a 50-kilometer radius, including us." Sarah smiled grimly. "That's the plan, Doctor. We knew this was a one-way trip when we volunteered." She looked around the bridge at her crew. These were some of the finest people humanity had ever produced. Torres, who had lost his entire family on New Terra but still found the strength to fight on. Webb, the brilliant scientist who had developed the quantum resonance technology that made this mission possible. Chief Engineer Patel, who could make miracles happen with duct tape and determination. Pilot Jackson, who could fly through an asteroid field blindfolded. They all knew the plan. Sarah would pilot the Defiance straight into the heart of the enemy fleet, right up to their command ship. Then they would detonate the quantum resonance bomb, taking out the Vex-High leadership and crippling their ability to coordinate their forces. It would give the rest of humanity time to regroup, to prepare better defenses, maybe even to strike back. "Commander," Torres spoke up again. "Incoming transmission from Admiral Rodriguez on Earth. Put him through." The holographic image of Admiral Rodriguez flickered to life in the center of the bridge. The old man looked tired, worn down by 2 years of losing battles and retreating from world after world. "Sarah," he said, his voice heavy with emotion, "are you sure about this? There has to be another way." "You know there isn't, Admiral," Sarah replied. "The Vex-High fleet will reach Earth in 18 hours. Our defensive grid won't hold them for more than 20 minutes. This is humanity's last chance." Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. "You're one of our best commanders, Sarah. If anyone could find another way—" "I've run the simulations 1,000 times," Sarah interrupted. "This is the only scenario where Earth survives, where humanity survives." "Very well," Rodriguez said, straightening up. "Go with God, Commander, and thank you." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Sarah took a deep breath and turned to her crew. "All right, people. You know the drill. Helm, take us in. Maximum acceleration. Direct course for the Vex-High command ship." The Defiance lurched forward, emerging from behind the asteroid field like a vengeful spirit. Immediately, alarms started blaring on Vex-High ships as they detected the human vessel. "They're moving to intercept," reported Torres. 3 squadrons breaking off from the main fleet." "Let them come," Sarah said. "All weapons fire at will. Clear us a path." The space around them erupted in violence. Plasma bolts and particle beams crisscrossed the darkness. The Defiance shook under enemy fire, but Patel's modifications to the shields held. Jackson twisted the ship through the enemy formation with impossible grace, avoiding the worst of the damage. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Patel. "Emergency bulkheads are holding." "Keep us moving," Sarah ordered. "We're almost there." Through the chaos of battle, Sarah could see their target. The Vex-High command ship was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Defiance. Its surface bristled with weapons and sensor arrays. Biomechanical tentacles writhed along its hull like the ship was some kind of living thing. 15,000 kilometers and closing," called out Jackson. Sarah keyed the intercom to address the entire ship. "All hands, this is the commander. In 60 seconds, we're going to show these alien bastards what happens when you threaten humanity. It's been an honor serving with all of you. She closed the channel and turned to Webb. Doctor, arm the bomb. Webb's hands trembled slightly as he entered the activation codes. Quantum resonance bomb is armed and ready. Detonation on your command. 10,000 kilometers, Jackson reported. The enemy fire was getting heavier now. More hits were getting through their weakened shields. Sarah could feel the ship groaning around them as systems failed and hull plating buckled. 5,000 kilometers. They're trying to hail us, Torres said. The Vexhai want to talk, Sarah almost laughed. After 2 years of slaughter, now they wanted to talk. Ignore it. Stay on course. 2,000 kilometers. The command ship loomed before them now, filling the entire viewport. Sarah could see Vexhai figures moving behind transparent sections of the hull. They looked almost human, except for the extra arms and the way their skin seemed to shift colors. 1,000 kilometers. Brace for impact. The Defiance slammed into the side of the command ship, tearing through armor plating and internal structures. Sparks flew across the bridge as systems overloaded. Now, Doctor, Sarah shouted. Webb slammed his palm down on the detonation trigger. For a brief moment, Sarah felt a sense of peace. They had done it. Humanity would survive. Earth would be safe. Then the quantum resonance bomb exploded and everything went white. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. From the human observation post on Titan, Admiral Rodriguez watched through the long-range sensors as the quantum resonance bomb tore through the Vexhai fleet. The energy wave expanded outward, disintegrating everything in its path. Ships, debris, and alien bodies were reduced to their component atoms in seconds. When the light faded, 300 enemy warships had been reduced to 97. The command ship was completely gone, along with the Defiance and everyone aboard her. The remaining Vexhai vessels drifted aimlessly, their coordination shattered without their leadership network. Rodriguez closed his eyes. Sarah Chen had been like a daughter to him. He had watched her rise through the ranks, had seen her tactical brilliance save countless lives. Now she was gone, along with 50 of humanity's finest warriors. Admiral, said Captain Morrison, the intelligence officer, we're receiving scattered transmissions from the surviving Vexhai ships. Without their command structure, they're arguing among themselves. Some want to retreat, others want to continue the attack on Earth. How long before they reorganize? Rodriguez asked. Unknown, sir. Could be hours, could be days. But they will eventually choose new leaders. Rodriguez nodded grimly. Sarah's sacrifice had bought them time, but it wouldn't be enough. The Vexhai still had nearly 100 ships, more than enough to overwhelm Earth's defenses. They needed something more. Sir? Morrison continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. There's something else. I'm receiving a coded transmission from the Pluto research station. It's using the Ghost Protocol. Rodriguez felt his blood turn cold. The Ghost Protocol hadn't been used in over a decade. It was reserved for only the most classified operations, the ones that officially didn't exist. He had hoped never to hear those words again. Put it through to my private office, Rodriguez ordered. And Captain? This conversation never happened. Rodriguez made his way to his private office, sealing the door behind him. The room was designed to block all forms of surveillance, electromagnetic or otherwise. Whatever was about to happen, it would remain between him and whoever was calling from Pluto. The communication terminal crackled to life, and a face appeared on the screen. Dr. Elizabeth Kane, the director of Project Nightmare. She looked older than Rodriguez remembered, her hair now completely gray, her face lined with stress. Admiral, she said without preamble, I know what happened to the Chen girl. I'm sorry for your loss. Elizabeth, Rodriguez replied carefully. I wasn't aware you were still running operations out there. There are many things you're not aware of, Admiral. That's by design. Kane's expression was unreadable, but Sarah Chen was special. We've been watching her career for years. She would have been perfect for our program. Rodriguez felt a chill run down his spine. Project Nightmare was humanity's darkest secret, hidden away in the frozen wasteland beyond Neptune. Officially, it didn't exist. Unofficially, it was where they took volunteers and turned them into something more than human. Something that could fight monsters by becoming monsters themselves. Elizabeth, whatever you're thinking, it's already done. Kane interrupted. 12 minutes ago, 2 of our assets went active. They were very fond of Commander Chen. You could say she was their inspiration to volunteer for the program. Rodriguez stared at the screen in horror. You can't be serious. After what happened to the last batch, these two are different, Kane said firmly. They've been stable for 3 years now. Perfect psychological profiles, complete mission focus, and most importantly, they're motivated. Sarah Chen saved their homeworld before the Vexhai destroyed it. They owe her their lives. Who are they? Rodriguez asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know. Kane smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. You know them by their operational designations. Boogeyman and Baba Yaga. Rodriguez had heard whispers about those names in the darkest corners of military intelligence, stories that couldn't possibly be true, tales of two figures who appeared wherever humanity's enemies felt safe, who struck without warning and left no survivors. Most people thought they were myths, propaganda created to boost morale. They're real, Rodriguez said, his voice barely above a whisper. Oh, they're very real, Kane confirmed, and right now they're very angry. The surviving Vexhai fleet is about to learn why humanity's nightmares have names. On the screen, Kane turned to look at something off-camera. They're launching now. Admiral, I suggest you prepare your fleet to mop up whatever they leave behind. It shouldn't take long. The transmission ended, leaving Rodriguez alone with his thoughts. He walked to the viewport and looked out at the distant stars, wondering what he had just unleashed. The Ghost Protocol existed for situations where conventional forces weren't enough, where humanity needed to fight fire with fire. But Project Nightmare's subjects weren't entirely human anymore. The process that created them changed them in ways that science was only beginning to understand. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than any natural human. But more than that, they thought differently. The psychological modifications made them perfect warriors, but they also made them something else. They became humanity's monsters, designed to hunt monsters. Rodriguez accessed his personal files and pulled up what little information he had clearance to see about Boogeyman and Baba Yaga. The files were heavily redacted, but what remained painted a picture of two individuals who had volunteered for Project Nightmare after losing everything to alien invaders. Subject designation, Boogeyman, formerly, Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Steele. Homeworld Haven Colony, status destroyed by Vexhai forces. Psychological profile, extreme focus on mission completion, known for operating behind enemy lines for extended periods. Preferred method, infiltration and systematic elimination of command structures. Subject designation, Baba Yaga, formerly Major Elena Volkov. Homeworld Haven Colony, status destroyed by Vexhai forces. Psychological profile, protective instincts transferred to entire human species, known for unconventional tactical approaches. Preferred method, psychological warfare and terror tactics. Rodriguez closed the files. Haven Colony had been one of the first worlds the Vexhai attacked. Over 3 million people had died when the aliens glassed the planet. Only a few hundred had escaped, and fewer still had survived the trauma intact. But Sarah Chen had been there too, commanding a small evacuation fleet. She had saved as many people as she could, including Marcus Steele and Elena Volkov. Rodriguez remembered reading her after-action report, how she had blamed herself for not saving more lives. Now, 12 minutes after her death, the two people she had saved were about to seek revenge in her name. Rodriguez activated the fleet communication system. Whatever was about to happen, his people needed to be ready. All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. Stand by for new orders, and prepare for something you've never seen before. The chronometer on the Shadowrunner's control panel read exactly 12 minutes since Sarah Chen's sacrifice. For Marcus and Elena, those 12 minutes had been spent in careful preparation. Every second was precious when hunting an enemy that outnumbered them nearly 100 to 1. Elena sat cross-legged on the floor of the ship's small preparation chamber, her eyes closed in deep meditation. The Project Nightmare modifications had changed her brain structure, but they required constant maintenance. Her enhanced cognitive abilities needed to be calibrated before each mission. Like tuning a precise instrument, Phantom, display the psychological profiles of the target commanders, she said without opening her eyes. Holographic images appeared around her. 4 Vexhai individuals who had emerged as potential leaders in the chaotic aftermath of their command ship's destruction. The AI had compiled the profiles from intercepted communications and behavioral analysis. Subject Alpha, Commander Vex Thak, Phantom reported. Aggressive leadership style prone to making decisions based on anger rather than logic. Lost 2 clutch siblings in the quantum resonance explosion. Elena's enhanced mind absorbed the information, building a 3-dimensional psychological model of her target. He'll be expecting a frontal assault. Violence is his first response to any threat. Subject Beta. Strategic mind Kethvar. The AI continued. Analytical thinker prefers careful planning. Has been advocating for a retreat to regroup. A coward, Elena observed. He'll have multiple escape routes planned. When we come for him, he'll run rather than fight. Subject Gamma. Warsinger Ythmara. Charismatic leader, skilled at maintaining morale, has been broadcasting propaganda to keep the fleet united. Elena smiled slightly. Pride. She thinks her words can hold them together. We'll turn that pride into terror. Subject Delta, deep thinker Zalkarath. Ancient by Vex-High standards, considered wise by his peers. He's been trying to negotiate a temporary truce to allow for reorganization. Wisdom through experience, Elena mused. He's the most dangerous one. He'll see us coming. Meanwhile, in the ship's armory, Marcus methodically checked his equipment. Project Nightmare had enhanced his body, but he still relied on carefully selected tools for each mission. Tonight he would be carrying death in multiple forms. His primary weapon was a quantum phase blade, a sword that could cut through any known material by disrupting molecular bonds. The blade was perfectly balanced for his enhanced reflexes and strength, but Marcus preferred quieter methods when possible. He selected a set of nanotoxin injectors, each one designed to target Vex-High biology specifically. A single dose would cause complete neural system failure within 30 seconds. The toxins were undetectable by most alien medical scanners. Boogeyman, Elena called from the meditation chamber. I need your assessment of the ship layouts. Marcus activated his tactical display, showing detailed schematics of Vex-High vessels. His enhanced spatial awareness allowed him to visualize 3-dimensional spaces with perfect accuracy, mapping out every corridor, ventilation shaft, and security checkpoint. The command vessels will have reinforced security around their control centers, he reported, but they're designed to keep invaders out, not to contain threats that are already inside. Infiltration points? Elena asked. Waste disposal systems on the lower decks. The Vex-High consider them beneath notice. They'll have minimal security. From there, we can access the service tunnels that run throughout the ship. Elena opened her eyes. Her pupils dilated from the mental exercises. Phantom. What's the current status of the target fleet? The Vex-High are still attempting to establish unified command, the AI replied. However, I'm detecting signs of increasing organization. They have approximately 4 hours before they achieve effective coordination. Then we need to move faster than planned, Marcus said. He sealed his equipment into a compact infiltration pack, designed to be invisible to most scanners. What's our approach vector? Elena stood and moved to the navigation console. Her fingers danced over the controls as she calculated trajectories and timing. We'll approach from the galactic plane, using the local star's radiation to mask our signature. The Vex-High won't expect an attack from that direction. It's too dangerous for conventional ships. But we're not conventional, Marcus observed. The Shadow Runner adjusted its course, diving toward the local star before arcing back toward the alien fleet. The ship's radiation shielding screamed in protest, but it held. Any other vessel would have been vaporized by the intense energy. But Project Nightmare's technology was designed to operate in impossible conditions. As they approached the Vex-High fleet, Elena began her psychological warfare campaign. She activated the ship's communication array and began broadcasting on frequencies she knew the aliens would intercept. The message was simple, a recording of Sarah Chen's final words before she detonated the quantum resonance bomb. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. We are not afraid of you. We will never surrender, and we will never stop fighting. The broadcast repeated on multiple channels, echoing through the alien fleet like a ghost's whisper. Helena watched the enemy communications with satisfaction as confusion and fear spread through their ranks. They're trying to jam the signal, she reported, but I'm adapting faster than they can compensate. The psychological impact is significant. Their stress hormones are spiking across all vessels. Marcus piloted the Shadow Runner through the outer edge of the alien formation, the ship's stealth systems rendering it invisible to their sensors. But invisibility wasn't enough for what they had planned. There, Elena pointed to a massive vessel near the center of the fleet. That's Vexthak's ship, the Flesh Render. He's been broadcasting aggressive rhetoric for the past hour, trying to rally the fleet for an immediate attack on Earth. Marcus studied the ship through the enhanced sensors. It was a kilometer long, bristling with weapons and armor. Under normal circumstances, a single human would have no chance of penetrating its defenses, but Marcus and Elena weren't normal humans anymore. Docking approach? Marcus asked. Negative, Elena replied, her enhanced mind already visualizing the infiltration. We're going to do this the hard way. Take us to within 50 meters of their waste disposal port. Marcus raised an eyebrow. 50 meters? In a radiation field that would kill an unprotected human in seconds? Elena's smile was predatory. Good thing we're not unprotected anymore. She moved to the ship's equipment locker and withdrew 2 environmental suits unlike anything in the standard human arsenal. The suits were biomechanical hybrids, grown rather than manufactured, designed to interface directly with their enhanced nervous systems. Project Nightmare's latest innovation, she explained as she began putting on the suit. These things can keep us alive in hard vacuum for up to 6 hours. They'll also mask our human biosignatures, making us appear as background radiation to HFY sensors. Marcus donned his own suit, feeling the biomechanical components bond with his enhanced skin. The sensation was unsettling, but he had learned to suppress such reactions. Fear and disgust were luxuries he could no longer afford. Phantom, prepare for emergency undocking, Elena ordered. We'll be leaving through the cargo bay in 3 minutes. Acknowledged, the AI replied. I will maintain position and monitor communications. If you require extraction, we won't, Marcus said firmly. This is a one-way trip until the mission is complete. Elena checked her equipment one final time. In addition to her standard weapons, she carried a collection of psychological warfare devices, sonic disruptors, pheromone generators, and holographic projectors. Her role was to spread terror through the enemy ranks while Marcus eliminated specific targets. 12 minutes, she said quietly. 12 minutes since Sarah Chen gave her life for humanity. Time to make it count. The cargo bay doors opened, exposing them to the deadly radiation field surrounding the HFY fleet. For ordinary humans, this environment would mean instant death. But Marcus and Elena were no longer ordinary. They were humanity's nightmares, and they were coming for revenge. In the depths of the Pluto research facility, 2 figures stood before a massive viewport, watching the distant flash of light that marked Sarah Chen's final sacrifice. The facility was built into the ice, its corridors carved from frozen methane and water. It was the perfect place to hide humanity's darkest secrets. Marcus Steele, known by his operational designation as Boogeyman, stood perfectly still. His body had been enhanced beyond human limits, muscles rebuilt with synthetic fibers, bones reinforced with titanium mesh, nervous system accelerated with quantum processors. He was no longer entirely human, but he remembered what it felt like to be. Beside him, Elena Volkov, Baba Yaga, clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. Her modifications were different from Marcus's, focused more on psychological warfare and tactical analysis. Her brain had been rewired to process information at superhuman speeds, to see patterns that no ordinary human could detect. They had both volunteered for Project Nightmare 3 years ago, after surviving the destruction of Haven Colony. The process had taken months of surgery, genetic modification, and psychological conditioning. It had killed 6 other volunteers before them, but they had survived, transformed into something new. She's gone, Elena said quietly, her enhanced hearing picking up the subsonic vibrations of grief in her own voice. Marcus nodded. The woman who saved us. The woman who gave us a reason to keep fighting. They had first met Sarah Chen in the burning wreckage of Haven Colony. Marcus had been a lieutenant colonel in the Colonial Defense Force. Elena a major in intelligence. When the HFY attack began, they had both fought desperately to save their world. But conventional weapons couldn't stop the alien invasion. Sarah Chen had arrived in the final hours with a small evacuation fleet. She could have run, could have saved herself and her ships. Instead, she had dove into the chaos, pulling survivors from the wreckage of cities. She had saved 800 people that day, including Marcus and Elena. I remember what she said to me, Elena murmured, in the medical bay of her ship. She looked me in the eye and promised that humanity would never forget Haven Colony, that we would make the aliens pay. Marcus turned away from the viewport. And now she's dead because she kept that promise. Dr. Kane's voice echoed through the chamber's speakers. Assets Boogeyman and Baba Yaga. Report to Launch Bay 7. Your mission parameters are being uploaded now. They walked through the facility's corridors in silence. Other personnel they passed quickly looked away. Everyone knew what Marcus and Elena were, what they had become. The modifications weren't just physical. They changed the way a person moved, the way they breathed, even the way they looked at the world. There was something unsettling about them now, something that triggered primal fear responses in normal humans. Launch Bay 7 contained their ship, a stealth infiltrator called the Shadow Runner. It was painted matte black and covered in sensor-dampening materials. The ship could slip past most detection systems unnoticed, perfect for the kind of work Marcus and Elena specialized in. Dr. Kane was waiting for them in the briefing room adjacent to the launch bay. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp and focused. I know what Commander Chen meant to both of you, she began without preamble. This mission is personal, but I need you both to remember your training. Personal feelings can compromise operational effectiveness. Understood, Marcus replied, his voice completely flat. What are our parameters? Kane activated a holographic display showing the remaining Vexi fleet. 97 ships currently in disarray following the destruction of their command structure. Intelligence indicates they're trying to establish a new hierarchy, but it will take time. Elena studied the display, her enhanced mind already processing tactical possibilities. They'll establish 3 or 4 command ships to replace the one that was destroyed. Redundant leadership to prevent another decapitation strike. Exactly, Kane confirmed. Your mission is to infiltrate those ships and eliminate the new command structure before they can reorganize. Without leadership, the remaining fleet will be unable to coordinate their attack on Earth. Marcus stepped closer to the display. Infiltration parameters? Full autonomy, Kane replied. Use whatever methods you deem necessary. The only requirement is that the Vexi leadership must be eliminated within 6 hours. Elena's eyes glittered dangerously. 6 hours? That's generous. Kane handed them each a datapad containing detailed intelligence about the Vexi fleet structure, ship layouts, and known security protocols. Remember, these aliens have been fighting humanity for 2 years. They've learned to fear us. Use that fear. Marcus and Elena made their way to the Shadow Runner. The ship's AI system, designated Phantom, greeted them as they entered the cockpit. Welcome back, Boogeyman and Baba Yaga, the AI said in a neutral feminine voice. I have been monitoring communications from the Vexi fleet. They are indeed attempting to reorganize their command structure. Show us, Elena ordered. The main display lit up with intercepts of alien communications. The translations scrolled past rapidly, but Elena's enhanced cognitive abilities allowed her to process the information at superhuman speed. They're scared, she observed. The quantum resonance explosion destroyed more than just their ships. It created a psychological impact they weren't prepared for. Marcus settled into the pilot's seat, his hands moving over the controls with mechanical precision. Fear is a weapon. Sarah understood that. Elena's expression hardened. She also understood sacrifice. She gave her life to give us this opportunity. The Shadow Runner launched from the Pluto facility, its stealth systems immediately engaging. To any external observer, the ship would appear to be nothing more than a small asteroid drifting through space. As they accelerated toward the Vexi fleet, Elena began reviewing their target profiles. 4 ships had been identified as potential command vessels, each one now trying to establish control over the confused alien fleet. Phantom, what's our estimated time to the first target? Marcus asked. 3 hours and 14 minutes at current velocity, the AI replied. I should note that the Vexi have increased their patrol frequencies. They appear to be expecting some form of retaliation. Elena smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. They should be. Sarah Chen just showed them that humans are willing to die to protect Earth. Now they're about to learn what happens when humans are willing to kill. Marcus activated the ship's advanced sensor array, scanning the alien fleet for weaknesses. Baba Yaga, what's your assessment of their psychological state? Elena closed her eyes, her enhanced mind processing hundreds of variables. Communication patterns, ship movements, energy signatures, even the cadence of alien voices in the intercepted transmissions. Project Nightmare had given her an almost supernatural ability to read the emotional and psychological states of her enemies. "They're in chaos," she reported. "Fear, confusion, anger. The loss of their command ship didn't just disrupt their tactical coordination, it shattered their confidence. They thought they were the superior species. Sarah's sacrifice proved them wrong." Marcus nodded. "Then we use that confusion. Traditional infiltration techniques won't work against the Vex-High. Their biomechanical technology can detect most forms of human stealth. But if they're psychologically compromised, we become their nightmare," Elena finished. "We don't sneak aboard their ships. We announce ourselves. We make them know we're coming, and we let their own fear do half our work for us." The Shadowrunner continued its silent approach toward the alien fleet. In the distance, the survivors of humanity's greatest sacrifice struggled to reorganize their forces. They had no idea that their worst fears were about to become reality. Sarah Chen had died to save Earth. Now her legacy would live on through the 2 enhanced humans she had saved years ago on Haven Colony. The Vex-High had made the mistake of taking something precious from humanity. They were about to learn that some mistakes cannot be forgiven. The chronometer on the Shadowrunner's control panel read exactly 12 minutes since Sarah Chen's sacrifice. For Marcus and Elena, those 12 minutes had been spent in careful preparation. Every second was precious when hunting an enemy that outnumbered them nearly 100 to 1. Elena sat cross-legged on the floor of the ship's small preparation chamber, her eyes closed in deep meditation. The Project Nightmare modifications had changed her brain structure, but they required constant maintenance. Her enhanced cognitive abilities needed to be calibrated before each mission, like tuning a precise instrument. "Phantom, display the psychological profiles of the target commanders," she said without opening her eyes. Holographic images appeared around her. 4 Vex-High individuals who had emerged as potential leaders in the chaotic aftermath of their command ship's destruction. The AI had compiled the profiles from intercepted communications and behavioral analysis. "Subject Alpha, Commander Vexathak," Phantom reported. "Aggressive leadership style, prone to making decisions based on anger rather than logic. Lost 2 clutch siblings in the quantum resonance explosion." Elena's enhanced mind absorbed the information, building a 3-dimensional psychological model of her target. "He'll be expecting a frontal assault. Violence is his first response to any threat." Subject Beta, Strategic Mind Kethvar, the AI continued. "Analytical thinker, prefers careful planning. Has been advocating for a retreat to regroup." "A coward," Elena observed. "He'll have multiple escape routes planned. When we come for him, he'll run rather than fight." Subject Gamma, War Singer Yithmara, charismatic leader skilled at maintaining morale, has been broadcasting propaganda to keep the fleet united. Elena smiled slightly. "Pride. She thinks her words can hold them together. We'll turn that pride into terror." Subject Delta, deep thinker Zalkarath, ancient by Vex-High standards, considered wise by his peers. He's been trying to negotiate a temporary truce to allow for reorganization. "Wisdom through experience," Elena mused. "He's the most dangerous one. He'll see us coming." Meanwhile, in the ship's armory, Marcus methodically checked his equipment. Project Nightmare had enhanced his body, but he still relied on carefully selected tools for each mission. Tonight he would be carrying death in multiple forms. His primary weapon was a quantum phase blade, a sword that could cut through any known material by disrupting molecular bonds. The blade was perfectly balanced for his enhanced reflexes and strength, but Marcus preferred quieter methods when possible. He selected a set of nanotoxin injectors, each one designed to target Vex-High biology specifically. A single dose would cause complete neural system failure within 30 seconds. The toxins were undetectable by most alien medical scanners. "Boogeyman," Elena called from the meditation chamber. "I need your assessment of the ship layouts." Marcus activated his tactical display, showing detailed schematics of Vex-High vessels. His enhanced spatial awareness allowed him to visualize 3-dimensional spaces with perfect accuracy, mapping out every corridor, ventilation shaft, and security checkpoint. The command vessels will have reinforced security around their control centers, he reported. But they're designed to keep invaders out, not to contain threats that are already inside. Infiltration points? Elena asked. Waste disposal systems on the lower decks. The Vex High consider them beneath notice. They'll have minimal security. From there, we can access the service tunnels that run throughout the ship. Elena opened her eyes, her pupils dilated from the mental exercises. Phantom, what's the current status of the target fleet? The Vex High are still attempting to establish unified command, the AI replied. However, I'm detecting signs of increasing organization. They have approximately 4 hours before they achieve effective coordination. Then we need to move faster than planned, Marcus said. He sealed his equipment into a compact infiltration pack designed to be invisible to most scanners. What's our approach vector? Elena stood and moved to the navigation console. Her fingers danced over the controls as she calculated trajectories and timing. We'll approach from the galactic plane, using the local star's radiation to mask our signature. The Vex High won't expect an attack from that direction. It's too dangerous for conventional ships. But we're not conventional, Marcus observed. The Shadow Runner adjusted its course, diving toward the local star before arcing back toward the alien fleet. The ship's radiation shielding screamed in protest, but it held. Any other vessel would have been vaporized by the intense energy, but Project Nightmare's technology was designed to operate in impossible conditions. As they approached the Vex High fleet, Elena began her psychological warfare campaign. She activated the ship's communication array and began broadcasting on frequencies she knew the aliens would intercept. The message was simple. A recording of Sarah Chen's final words before she detonated the quantum resonance bomb. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. We are not afraid of you. We will never surrender. And we will never stop fighting. The broadcast repeated on multiple channels, echoing through the alien fleet like a ghost's whisper. Elena watched the enemy communications with satisfaction as confusion and fear spread through their ranks. They're trying to jam the signal, she reported. But I'm adapting faster than they can compensate. The psychological impact is significant. Their stress hormones are spiking across all vessels. Marcus piloted the Shadow Runner through the outer edge of the alien formation, the ship's stealth systems rendering it invisible to their sensors. But invisibility wasn't enough for what they had planned. There, Elena pointed to a massive vessel near the center of the fleet. That's Vexathak's ship, the Flesh Render. He's been broadcasting aggressive rhetoric for the past hour, trying to rally the fleet for an immediate attack on Earth. Marcus studied the ship through the enhanced sensors. It was a kilometer long, bristling with weapons and armor. Under normal circumstances, a single human would have no chance of penetrating its defenses. But Marcus and Elena weren't normal humans anymore. Docking approach? Marcus asked. Negative, Elena replied, her enhanced mind already visualizing the infiltration. We're going to do this the hard way. Take us to within 50 meters of their waste disposal port. Marcus raised an eyebrow. 50 meters? In a radiation field that would kill an unprotected human in seconds? Elena's smile was predatory. Good thing we're not unprotected anymore. She moved to the ship's equipment locker and withdrew 2 environmental suits, unlike anything in the standard human arsenal. The suits were biomechanical hybrids, grown rather than manufactured, designed to interface directly with their enhanced nervous systems. Project Nightmare's latest innovation, she explained as she began putting on the suit. These things can keep us alive in hard vacuum for up to 6 hours. They'll also mask our human biosignatures, making us appear as background radiation to Vex High sensors. Marcus donned his own suit, feeling the biomechanical components bond with his enhanced skin. The sensation was unsettling, but he had learned to suppress such reactions. Fear and disgust were luxuries he could no longer afford. Phantom, prepare for emergency undocking, Elena ordered. We'll be leaving through the cargo bay in 3 minutes. Acknowledged, the AI replied. I will maintain position and monitor communications, if you require extraction. We won't, Marcus said firmly. This is a one-way trip until the mission is complete. Elena checked her equipment one final time. In addition to her standard weapons, she carried a collection of psychological warfare devices, sonic disruptors, pheromone generators, and holographic projectors. Her role was to spread terror through the enemy ranks while Marcus eliminated specific targets. 12 minutes, she said quietly. 12 minutes since Sarah Chen gave her life for humanity. Time to make it count. The cargo bay doors opened, exposing them to the deadly radiation field surrounding the Vex-High fleet. For ordinary humans, this environment would mean instant death. But Marcus and Elena were no longer ordinary. They were humanity's nightmares, and they were coming for revenge. Marcus and Elena drifted through space like two dark angels of death, their biomechanical suits protecting them from the lethal radiation that surrounded the Vex-High fleet. The flesh render loomed before them, its organic hull pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that served as both decoration and communication system. The waste disposal port was exactly where Marcus had predicted. A small opening on the ship's underside, barely large enough for a human to pass through. The Vex-High had designed it for automated systems, never imagining that anyone would be desperate or capable enough to use it as an entry point. Beginning infiltration, Marcus whispered into his suit's communicator. His enhanced muscles contracted, propelling him toward the opening with mechanical precision. Elena followed, her enhanced senses already analyzing the ship's defensive patterns. I'm detecting guard rotations every 18 minutes. We have 16 minutes before the next security sweep of this section. They slipped through the waste port into a narrow conduit filled with the processed organic matter that the Vex-High used for nutrition. The smell would have overwhelmed a normal human, but their modified physiology filtered out non-essential sensory input. Marcus activated his enhanced vision, seeing clearly in the absolute darkness of the ship's interior. The conduit led to a larger processing chamber where biomechanical systems broke down waste matter for recycling. From there, they could access the main service tunnels. Movement ahead, Elena warned, her enhanced hearing detecting the approach of a maintenance drone. Marcus pressed himself against the conduit wall as a spider-like robot scuttled past. The drone's sensors swept the area but detected nothing unusual. Their biosuits were working perfectly, masking their human signatures. They emerged into the processing chamber, a vast space filled with churning biomechanical equipment. Elena quickly accessed her tactical display, overlaying the ship's layout onto her enhanced visual cortex. Command center is 7 levels up, she reported, but I'm detecting heavy security around the direct routes. Marcus studied the schematics with his enhanced spatial awareness. There's an emergency shaft that runs parallel to the main elevator system. It's designed for hull breaches, so it'll have minimal monitoring. They move through the ship like ghosts, using service corridors and maintenance shafts to avoid detection. The Vex-High crew they encountered never saw them coming. Marcus's nanotoxin injectors worked silently, leaving bodies that would appear to have died from system failures rather than assassination. Elena planted her psychological warfare devices as they progressed. Sonic disruptors and ventilation systems would create subsonic frequencies that induced panic in Vex-High nervous systems. Pheromone generators would release chemical signatures associated with death and disease, triggering instinctual fear responses. Phase 1 deployment complete, she whispered as they reached the emergency shaft. The crew's stress levels are already rising. They know something is wrong, but they can't identify the threat. Marcus forced open the shaft access panel with his enhanced strength. The elevator system was a hybrid of technology and biology. Organic cables pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated the car's position. Elevators at level 12, he observed. We can ride the cables up to level 7. They climbed through the shaft with inhuman speed and agility, their enhanced bodies moving with perfect coordination. Elena's tactical display showed them the optimal route to avoid detection by the ship's internal sensors. As they climbed, Elena's communication implants picked up transmissions from the ship's command center. Her enhanced cognitive abilities allowed her to process the alien language in real time, translating their words into tactical intelligence. Vexthak is getting desperate, she reported. He's trying to coordinate an immediate attack on Earth, but the other commanders are resisting. They want to wait for reinforcements. Fear makes them cautious, Marcus observed. Sarah's sacrifice is still affecting their decision-making. They reached level 7 and carefully emerged from the shaft into a corridor filled with bioluminescent lighting. This section of the ship housed the primary command functions. heavily guarded and monitored. But Marcus and Elena had advantages that conventional infiltrators lacked. Elena activated her holographic projectors, creating false sensor readings throughout the area. To the ship's security systems, it would appear that normal crew members were moving through the corridors. Meanwhile, she and Marcus remained invisible to both electronic and biological detection. "Command center ahead," Marcus whispered, as they approached a heavily fortified bulkhead. "I count 12 guards plus automated defenses." Elena smiled within her biosuit. Time for the psychological warfare to pay off. She activated a collection of devices simultaneously. Sonic disruptors created subsonic frequencies that induced terror in the Vex-High guards. Pheromone generators released the chemical signature of approaching death. Holographic projectors created ghostly images of Sarah Chen walking through the corridors. The effect was immediate and devastating. The alien guards began to panic, their communication discipline breaking down as they reported impossible sightings and unexplained phenomena. Within minutes, half of them had abandoned their posts to investigate phantom threats. Marcus moved with lethal efficiency through the chaos. His quantum phase blade cut through Vex-High armor like it was made of paper. His nanotoxin injectors silently eliminated guards before they could raise alarms. In less than 3 minutes, the command center's defenses had been neutralized. They stood before the entrance to the command center itself. Beyond that bulkhead, Commander Vexthak was trying to hold together what remained of the Vex-High fleet's unity. He had no idea that death was waiting just outside his door. "Phantom to infiltration team," came the AI's voice through their communication implants. "I'm detecting increased activity throughout the fleet. The other command ships are trying to contact the flesh render." "They're about to lose contact permanently," Elena replied. She placed shaped charges around the command center bulkhead while Marcus prepared his assault weapons. "On my mark," Marcus said, positioning himself for maximum tactical advantage. 3, 2, 1, mark. The charges detonated, blowing the bulkhead inward in a shower of organic debris. Marcus burst through the opening like an avenging angel, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to target multiple enemies simultaneously. The command center was a vast organic chamber, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent displays showing the status of the fleet. Commander Vexthak stood at the center, his forearms gesticulating wildly as he tried to coordinate his forces. The alien commander was massive, even by Vex-High standards, with biomechanical enhancements that made him twice the size of a normal human. His natural armor was reinforced with technological implants, and his secondary arms ended in weapon systems rather than hands. "Human assassins," Vexthak roared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Kill them!" The remaining guards opened fire with plasma weapons, but Marcus was already moving. His enhanced speed made him appear as a blur to normal vision, dodging between energy beams with impossible grace. His quantum phase blade cut through weapon barrels and armor with equal ease. Elena entered the chamber behind him, her psychological warfare devices amplifying the chaos. The command crew's panic spread through the ship's communication systems, infecting other vessels in the fleet with irrational terror. "This is for Sarah Chen," Elena said, her voice carrying through the ship's internal communication system. Every Vex-High aboard the flesh render heard her words, translated by their own systems into their native language. Vexthak charged toward Marcus, his weapon arms firing continuously. But the alien commander was slow compared to a human enhanced by Project Nightmare. Marcus sidestepped the attack and drove his quantum phase blade through Vexthak's primary heart. The Vex-High commander's death cry echoed through the ship as his body collapsed. Around the command center, the surviving crew members stared in horror at the 2 humans who had infiltrated their most secure vessel. "Target 1 eliminated," Marcus reported to Phantom. "Moving to Target 2. Elena was already downloading intelligence from the ship's biomechanical computers, her enhanced mind processing vast amounts of data in seconds. "I have the location and security protocols for the other command ships. This is going to be easier than we thought." As they prepared to leave the devastated command center, explosions began echoing through the flesh render. Without their commander's coordination, the ship's various systems were beginning to fail. The psychological warfare devices Elena had planted were causing crew members to make critical errors throughout the vessel. "The ship is dying," Marcus observed with satisfaction. Elena nodded. "1 down, 3 to go. Let's show these aliens what happens when they take something precious from humanity." They moved toward the ship's docking bays, where they would commandeer a Vex-High shuttle for the next phase of their mission. Behind them, the flesh render continued its slow descent into chaos. A massive warship brought down by two enhanced humans seeking revenge for a fallen hero. The Vex-High fleet was about to learn that some debts could only be paid in blood. The stolen Vex-High shuttle drifted silently between the alien warships, its biomechanical hull camouflaged among the fleet's normal traffic. Marcus piloted the craft with enhanced precision, while Elena monitored the communications chaos spreading through the enemy formation. "The flesh render has gone completely dark," Elena reported, her enhanced cognitive abilities processing dozens of alien transmissions simultaneously. "The other commanders are demanding explanations, but they're getting no response." Marcus adjusted their trajectory toward the second target, a sleek vessel called the Mind Shatter. This ship belonged to strategic mind Kethvar, the cowardly commander who preferred careful planning to direct action. His vessel was positioned at the fleet's edge, ready to retreat if necessary. "Kethvar's paranoia will work against him," Elena observed. "He's isolated his ship from the others, thinking it makes him safer. Instead, he's made our job easier." The shuttle's biomechanical sensors detected multiple scanning attempts from the Mind Shatter, but their stolen craft's identification codes granted them access to the ship's docking bay. As they approached, Elena activated her psychological warfare suite on a broader scale. She began broadcasting fragments of human military communications across multiple frequencies, pieces of Sarah Chen's final speech, orders from Earth's defense fleet, even recordings of human children singing lullabies. To the Vex-High, these transmissions would be haunting reminders that they were fighting a species that refused to surrender. Docking in 30 seconds, Marcus announced. "I'm detecting increased security presence in the bay." Elena smiled coldly. "Let them bring more guards. It just means more targets." The shuttle touched down in the Mind Shatter's primary docking bay, surrounded by biomechanical security systems and armed guards. But before the aliens could react, Elena's psychological weapons were already at work. Sonic disruptors hidden in the shuttle's hull created subsonic frequencies that induced panic and disorientation. Pheromone generators released chemical cocktails that triggered the Vex-High equivalent of claustrophobia. Within moments, the organized security response dissolved into chaos. Marcus and Elena emerged from the shuttle like twin harbingers of death. Their biosuits had adapted to mimic Vex-High biological signatures, making them appear as friendly forces to the ship's automated systems while remaining undetectable to manual observation. "Split formation," Marcus commanded. "You take the navigation center, I'll handle the command deck." Elena nodded and vanished into the ship's ventilation system with inhuman speed. Her enhanced agility allowed her to move through spaces that would be impossible for normal humans to navigate. Meanwhile, Marcus advanced through the main corridors, his quantum phase blade cutting through security barriers like they were made of smoke. The Mind Shatter's layout reflected its commander's paranoid nature. Multiple redundant security systems, backup command centers, and escape routes made it a maze of protected passages. But Marcus's enhanced spatial awareness allowed him to navigate the complex structure with perfect accuracy. He encountered his first group of guards near the ship's central hub. 20 Vex-High soldiers in full combat armor, positioned to defend a critical junction. Under normal circumstances, they would have been an insurmountable obstacle for a single human. Marcus was no longer normal. He moved through the guards like death incarnate, his enhanced reflexes making their weapons seem impossibly slow. The quantum phase blade cut through armor, flesh, and bone without resistance. Nanotoxin injectors delivered silent death to targets he couldn't reach directly. In less than a minute, 20 alien soldiers lay dead without having fired a single effective shot. Meanwhile, Elena had reached the navigation center, where Kethvar's subordinates were trying to plot escape routes from the deteriorating situation. She didn't announce her presence with explosions or dramatic entrances. Instead, she simply began eliminating targets with clinical efficiency. Her enhanced cognitive abilities allowed her to predict the crew's movements with supernatural accuracy. She knew where each alien would be standing, which direction they would turn, even which words they would speak before they said them. Death came to them as inevitably as gravity. "Navigation center secured," she reported through her communication implant. "The ship's escape routes have been eliminated." Marcus was fighting his way toward the command deck when the ship's internal communication system crackled to life. Strategic mind. Kethavar's voice echoed through the corridors, speaking in the Vexhai language but translated by Elena's communication systems. Unknown attackers. I know you can hear me, the alien commander said. I am prepared to negotiate. Whatever your terms, we can reach an accommodation. Elena's laughter echoed through the ship's communication system in response. There are no terms, she said, her voice somehow reaching every speaker aboard the mine shatter. There is no negotiation. There is only justice for Sarah Chen. The psychological impact of her words was immediate. Throughout the ship, Vexahai crew members began to panic as they realized they were trapped aboard a vessel with 2 human assassins. Some tried to escape in maintenance pods. Others barricaded themselves in their quarters. None of them understood that resistance was futile. Marcus reached the command deck to find it heavily fortified, with energy barriers and automated defense systems protecting the entrance. Kethavar had been preparing for this moment since the first reports of infiltration reached his ship. Impressive defenses, Marcus observed, studying the tactical situation with enhanced analytical abilities. But you made one critical error. He didn't attack the fortified entrance. Instead, he used his quantum phase blade to cut through the deck plating directly beneath the command center. The ship's designers had focused on protecting the horizontal approaches while leaving the vertical access relatively unguarded. Marcus dropped through the floor of the command deck like an avenging angel, landing in the center of Kethavar's carefully prepared fortress. The alien commander was even more heavily modified than Vexthak had been, with additional limbs, armor plating, and weapon systems integrated into his body. But all the modifications in the universe couldn't compensate for the fundamental difference between them. Marcus had been rebuilt from the ground up by Project Nightmare, transformed into something that existed solely to hunt and kill humanity's enemies. The battle was brief and brutal. Kethavar's additional limbs gave him multiple attack angles, but Marcus's enhanced reflexes allowed him to counter every assault. The quantum phase blade cut through the alien's technological enhancements, reducing his advantages one by one. You cannot defeat us all, Kethavar gasped as Marcus's blade pierced his primary neural cluster. The fleet will reorganize. Earth will still fall. No, Marcus replied quietly. It won't. As Kethavar's body collapsed, explosions began echoing through the mine shatter. Elena had been busy in the navigation center, not just eliminating the crew but also sabotaging the ship's critical systems. Without proper navigation control, the massive vessel was beginning to drift toward its neighboring ships. Target 2 eliminated, Marcus reported to Phantom. Beginning extraction. Elena met him at the shuttle, her biosuit stained with alien blood. The ship will collide with the bone grinder in approximately 12 minutes, she said with satisfaction. When it does, both vessels will be destroyed. They launched from the dying ship just as its systems began failing catastrophically. Behind them, the mine shatter continued its inexorable drift toward the neighboring vessel, carrying death and chaos to another section of the Vexhai fleet. 2 down, Elena said as they set course for the 3rd target. The fleet's coordination is completely broken now. They're starting to argue among themselves, blaming each other for the infiltrations. Marcus nodded grimly. Fear is spreading faster than we are. Soon they'll be more afraid of each other than they are of us. The 3rd target was the Song of Victory, commanded by war singer Yithmara. This ship was positioned near the center of the fleet, surrounded by escort vessels and protected by overlapping defense grids. It would be their most challenging infiltration yet. But Marcus and Elena had tasted victory, and the memory of Sarah Chen's sacrifice drove them forward. The Vexhai had made the mistake of threatening Earth, and now they would pay the price for their aggression. The war had become personal, and humanity's nightmares were just getting started. In the distance, Admiral Rodriguez's human fleet waited and watched as their most classified weapons turned the tide of battle. The Vexhai had thought they understood warfare, but they had never faced enemies like Boogeyman and Baba Yaga. They were about to learn that some creatures were too dangerous to be real, except when they needed to be.